Welcome back to Pothys The Big Pick. Readers worldwide could not have enough of a certain character named Randall Patrick Murphy in Ken Kesey's 1962 best-selling novel, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The book has remained a timeless classic, and when I read it as a college student in the 90s, I was so deeply affected by its characters, its story, and its message. The book also filled me with a sense of sharply hurting sadness and a sense of outrage. I followed it up with Milos Forman's film and felt that the book was better. But recently, when I saw the film again and reread the book, I feel that each outdoes the other. The book is a literary masterpiece because of its powerful narrative voice. Ken Kesey speaking through Chief Bromden in his native Indian dialect. The $4.4 million film is a cinematic gem. Produced independently, the film swept 5 Oscars that year in 1975 for Best Picture, Best Director Milos Forman, Best Screenplay by Lawrence Hoban and Bo Goldman, Best Actor Jack Nicholson, and Best Actress Louise Fletcher. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest beat tough competition that year, Spielberg's Jaws and Robert Altman's Nashville. The story is set in the microcosmic world of a mental asylum and mirrors the mid-70s mood of nonconformity and rebellion. The rebel as Randall Patrick Murphy, portrayed brilliantly by Jack Nicholson, and the establishment, portrayed equally splendidly by Louise Fletcher as Nurse Ratched. Caught in the crossfire are some of the most memorable characters ever. Inmates of the mental asylum, and many of them in there voluntarily. That realization comes as a shock to Murphy and to us. And he wishes to change that by certain totally forgivable acts of rebellion. Like when he literally hijacks a bus with some of the inmates and takes them out fishing on waters as wild as himself.
Hooks. Now hold on to your hooks, because here are the fishes. All right, now each one of us has got a fish. What are you laughing at, Martini? You're not an idiot? Huh? You're not a... All right. Get up, get up, get up for you! Son of a bitch! He's going over here! Get up, Dave! Get out of here! Home safe and sound, didn't lose a nut. Meat swollen, you know what I mean? They're gonna be trawling this place for 6 months with dead bodies.
The casting is perfect. Chief Bromden, the deaf and dumb towering Native American Indian, is played to perfection by Will Sampson. The stuttering, paranoid, emasculated boy child, Billy Bibbit, is Brad Dourif in his film debut. The betrayed by his wife and intellectual Dale Harding is played by William Redfield. Sidney Lassick plays the neurotic and adorable Charlie Cheswick, and the ever-smiling, amiable Martini is none other than Danny DeVito. The troublemaking, quarrelsome Tabor is played by Christopher Lloyd again in his debut, and Dr. Spivey is played by the real hospital superintendent, Dr. Dean Brooks. The oily Mr. Turkle is played by Scatman Crothers, and the 3 orderlies are also perfectly cast. Apparently, the role of Nurse Ratched was offered to 5 actresses, including Anne Bancroft, and they all turned it down. Louise Fletcher was found and accepted the role just a week before the filming began.
Out of sight, man. Out of sight.
Morning, Miss Benson.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Miller, show this woman the way out of the hospital.
Gladly.
Come on, get your butt up. Come on. Up.
All right, Colonel, get that ass up there.
What the hell's going on here? Come on, move out.
Move it out of there.
Mr. Ratchet.
Stay right there, Benzini. Miss Ratchet,
Yes?
it looks like Billy Bibb is the only one missing.
Billy?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Washington.
Okay.
Did Billy Bibbett leave the grounds of the hospital, gentlemen? I want an answer to my question. Did he leave the grounds of the hospital?
Miss Ratchet. Jack Nicholson too was not Milos Forman's first choice. He was number 3 on the list and was cast only after Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman refused the part.
All right. This one go?
Thank you. Juicy fruit.
Boy, you sly son of a bitch, Chief. Can you hear me, too?
Yeah, you did.
Well, I'll be goddamn, Chief. And they all think you're deaf and dumb. Jesus Christ. You fooled them, Chief. You fooled them. You fooled them all. God damn. What are we doing in here, Chief? Huh? What's us two guys doing in this place? Let's get out of here. Out.
Canada.
Canada. We'll be there before these son of a know what hit them. Listen to Randall on this one.
Author of the book Ken Kesey had based his characters on real-life psychiatric ward patients at a hospital in Menlo Park, California, where he had once worked in a night job in the late 50s. Now here's another interesting bit of trivia. Apparently, Ken Kesey took psychoactive drugs such as peyote and LSD. He claimed to have written the first 3 pages of the novel after ingesting 8 peyote plants, and these pages remain almost completely unchanged through all of the book's rewrites. Kesey was not happy with the film and sued the producers for having taken liberties with the book. He was very upset with the perspective of the storytelling. In the book, it is Chief Bromden's voice narrating the story. But the film works beautifully in its own right. Grim and comic at the same time, it is a brilliant satire on institutionalized authority and the defiance of it. The film has an unexpected ending. Murphy sure shakes up the place, but at what cost? Both film and book are highly recommended, and with that, it's time for me to say goodbye. But I'm going to come back next week on Pothi's The Big Pick with one latest release and another movie from Big Home Video's script-to-screen series. This time it's Bridges Across Madison County. So until next time, take care and goodbye.